Yeah, so now about what I would like to talk about is this open research platform, which I started to develop more than 10 years ago. Oh, did I do something wrong here? Yeah, there it is. And which is a MediaWiki. So I'm a big fan of MediaWiki actually from the very beginning, and also Semantic MediaWiki. Of course, I'm a semantic web guy, semantic web researcher. Now we do also a lot of neurosymbolic stuff, and of course, using combining large language model with semantics. And I think this is very important, because if you use just language models alone, you have these hallucinations, right? So you need a mechanism to reduce hallucinations and increase trustworthiness, reproducibility, and that's, I think, where the semantics comes in. When you have a knowledge graph or some kind of semantic representations, that is something you can scrutinize, where you can validate and verify facts. And yeah, so, and of course the language model can help you to curate the knowledge graph. I actually also have some slides on that, which I could show you maybe later on. Yeah, but what I started here with this open research more than 10 years, maybe 15 years ago I started this. I was inspired by a platform in the semantic web community, which Markus Krötsch and Danny Frandecic, which you all I guess know, created, which was a platform for the semantic web community. So they had a semantic web installation, and you had like profiles of the conferences and the researchers and so on. And I thought this was really great, but I thought we need this not only for the semantic web community, we need this for all research. Yeah? And that inspired me to start the development of this open research, Semantic Wiki, which you see here. Unfortunately, I never succeeded, so it's actually a bit a sad story. I never succeeded to make it successful. So it's, I don't know, there are some people using it, but not really many. And I would like to use it. I tried to convince my PhD students to use it. Didn't succeed. Maybe I should have forced them more and punished them if they didn't. Yeah, I was maybe a little bit too laissez-faire in that regard. So, but what is this open research about? So it's a semantic MediaWiki, and the primary aim is maybe also some like information about conferences, because conferences play a very important role in scholarly communication in science, in particular in engineering, computer science, and some other areas. Conferences are extremely important, I would say, in computer science. In other fields, it's maybe more journals, and there are more also other platforms for information about journals. Also, usually with journals, you don't have certain things like deadlines, or also call for papers and many other things is a bit differently. So, but for conferences, there was not really a good support. Meanwhile, there were some new developments. We also had a project Confident, where we tried to develop this further. My impression is there is nothing really fulfilling the needs of the researchers. And the needs as a researcher, I would be interested, for example, to browse conferences or information. You could also extend it, not only, I think the most important part could be conferences. Later it could be extended also to projects and to other things. You could browse by field of science, that you, for example, go into software engineering, and then you get an overview of the top conferences in that area, right? And the upcoming here conferences. So you see this is empty because it's unfortunately not so well maintained. Maybe you can find another area. I think maybe if we go to AI or World Wide Web, yeah, here you at least have the ISWC conference, International Semantic Web Conference. So on top you have the conference series in this category, World Wide Web, and below here you have the upcoming conferences with the deadlines. As I said, it's not so actively maintained. That's why many of these categories are unfortunately empty. And then I could imagine that you also have maybe some other like project or organizations or journals or calls for publications and so on. Maybe also subcategories, for example, World Wide Web, a subcategory could be semantic web, right? And you see that in semantic web, you also have then a conference series, a potentially small or of course smaller list, and you also then have these kind of calls. So it's like a taxonomy of research fields. And in these research fields, you have then content like conference series. For example, we can look at the International Semantic Web Conference here, and then we get an overview of the conference, like there are these rankings, and important is also acceptance rate. So we try, unfortunately also with scientific conferences, you have a broad spectrum of very good top conferences, very good ones, to really junk and even predatory conferences, yeah. There were some scandals also. Actually here a colleague from the engineering department in Hanover got in big trouble because he sent his students to some predatory conference in New York, and something 3 years or 5 years ago it was in the news, in the media. So with some conference you have to be very careful. That's why it's important to know the quality of the conferences, and the acceptance rate, for example, is a quality indicator. Usually predatory conferences, they don't have an acceptance rate. Why? Because they accept everything. Yeah, they want to get money by they basically charge for the publication, and they don't care about the scientific quality, so they accept everything. They don't do proper peer review. That's why they also usually don't have an acceptance rate. Yeah? Then there are conferences which are a bit mediocre, which are maybe not predatory, but where you also don't really maybe want to publish, and they also don't announce their acceptance rate. I think all good conferences, they make the acceptance rate also available. Yeah, how many papers were accepted compared to the ones which were submitted, right? So if you have 100 submitted papers, 50 get accepted, you have an acceptance rate of 50%. Yeah, or 50. Here, ISWC had average acceptance rate of 24%, and the last 5 years it went a little bit up to 31. That's, I would say, a good conference. So it means 2/3 are rejected, 1/3 is accepted. So there is a little bit of quality control, or there is quality control there, right? And the top conferences in computer science, they actually reject 90% or 95%. Yeah, if you NeurIPS or the World Wide Web Conference also. And these quality criteria are quite important. Also, what I was a bit annoyed is the conference fees. Usually when you go to these conferences, here it's very cheap. We try to make it inexpensive for you. Yeah, if you go to ISWC, you pay like 700-800 euro, or World Wide Web Conference, 1,000 or more. And there you don't get lunch. That's another thing where I had a bit the impression, I would say it's not really like with the journals. The journals, the publishers, I think they are exploiting us researchers even more. But the conferences, it's often in the hands of scientific societies, so they don't really exploit but I think it could also be a bit more inclusive by trying to keep these fees lower. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's no way, there's not much transparency. Yeah? You don't have any platform to see. And that's what I wanted to do with the open research, like a platform where you can basically get an overview over what conferences are taking place. And then you can see here when did they take place, yeah, in what country, who were the chairs, the PC chairs, how many papers were submitted, how many were accepted, maybe how many attendees are there, but there we don't have the information. Then you can nicely, and that shows nicely the features of MediaWiki and Semantic MediaWiki. You can plot these charts, right, how it has developed over the years. So in the very beginning, for example, the acceptance rate was very high. Of course, for the first conference needed to be established, and then it quickly already stabilized around between 20 and 30%. Some years here it was even lower. Yeah, and then you can see on the map also where the conferences took place. and you have the category. So that's a little bit the conference series, and then we can look at one particular conference. So this one here is next 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, in actually next week, yeah, in Nara in Japan. And here we also don't have too much information, yeah, but a little bit of information. Of course, acceptance rate is something, yeah, which only is available after the conference usually. Yeah, and you can edit this with the form here. So I created this kind of, actually most of the stuff you see here was really created by me personally already long ago. And the purpose of this talk is a little to see if maybe someone of you is interested to work with me or with us on that, to improve that. So here you have this general information, yeah, when the conference takes place, in what field, what type of event it is, then important dates you can add here, the deadlines usually, the committees, the registration information, or then also this bibliographic and retrospective information, so how many papers were submitted, how many were accepted. Yeah, and once you are logged in and registered, you can of course edit it either via the form. Also the idea was that here in this text you could paste in the call for papers, like usually this longer document which lists all the topics and so on. And you could also annotate them with the Semantic MediaWiki syntax. And then you populate a knowledge graph, a knowledge base with this information about conferences and locations and research fields and so on. So that's a bit the idea of this. And what also now is actually possible. So 5 years ago, of course, you had to update this in a crowdsourcing way, right? I think it was not terribly much work. Maybe one more thing I wanted to show you is what I was really interested, DSDL, that's our research group here, Data Science and Digital Libraries. And you can also create, of course, in the MediaWiki a profile page for research group, like here. Yeah, you can list the members of the group, alumni, projects, whatever, the events we organize. So we should add here the MediaWiki users and developers conference. And what is really important for researchers is this kind of conference calendar. And I think all research groups worldwide, they do this. They basically look, when are the deadlines, when can we submit papers? And it would be, I think, so great if not every group would redo this basically, but if you enter the data at one point, and that's exactly what this installation here allows. You have this group conference calendar, and this is actually a very small template here, which I created. So if we go and can make it a little larger. So you basically just insert conference calendar, then in series you list the conference series with the acronyms you are interested in, yeah, and then limit how many you want and how they are sorted, right? And then it automatically, if the Open Research Wiki is updated, it automatically gives you then a list of the upcoming conferences in these series, right? So I think it's really great because every research group could create their own profile and their own series which they are interested in, and then they had their own group calendar, but you only have to enter it once and it would then be available to everyone. So, and as I said in the beginning, it was actually, you needed really crowdsourcing. I did an experiment 4 or 5 years ago with Amazon Mechanical Turk. So I was actually asking these Turkers to edit here, to basically give me, so what do you have to do in order to update this? You have to go through the conference series, maybe the most important ones, and then check where is the website. Unfortunately, there is no single place, yeah. So each conference has their own website, maybe sometimes even each venue has then their own, and then you have to go to the website and look at the data and then basically populate this form. So I was making an experiment with Amazon Mechanical Turk a few years ago, And it basically worked, but I also got the impression that you have to take you ask 3 people, for example, to get the data for the next ISWC conference, and out of the 3, maybe 1 or 2 provided the right answer. But lately, I discovered that ChatGPT can do it, and that's the newer symbolic part. Yeah. So, and this is something I also want to show you. If I use this prompt here, search on the web for information about ICWE 2026. So this is the International Conference on Web Engineering, which is a nice, good conference. And then update the Semantic MediaWiki page in openresearch.org for the next edition of the ICWE conference according to the following template. And then I copied the template of the 2024 edition, right? ChatGPT did a great job. It was actually then looking on the web, finding the web page of ICWE, found out that most of the information is available, but the deadline, for example, is not yet there. Some information is not yet. So here where it says TBA, yeah, this is something which is indeed, I was wondering, is it a hallucination? But I cross-checked it. If you go here to the ICWE webpage, you see that the important dates are still empty. Yeah? ChatGPT did a great job, and it even mentioned that here, that the submission abstract, notification, camera ready dates aren't listed on the site yet, and so on. But this shows that I think with such a neurosymbolic approach, we could now update open research, basically run some queries, retrieve maybe the conference series, the most important ones where we don't have information about the upcoming conferences taking place, and then ask ChatGPT to find this information. So we could automatize this process of data curation. Maybe it will sometimes be not correct, but I did this experiment with I tried it 10, 20 or with 20, 30 times, and I was really surprised how accurate it is and how well ChatGPT was able to identify, find the web pages, extract the relevant information from the web pages, and then also create the corresponding nice Semantic MediaWiki markup. And this is even a bit astonishable because, of course, these kind of properties, they are the ones which I defined, like in openresearch.org, and it probably, maybe it got trained with some of the pages from openresearch.org, but not really with with the ontology behind or the templates and so on. So, but it's pretty impressed. And now it would be interesting actually to integrate that into openresearch.org. Yeah, maybe some kind of Jupyter notebook with automatically calls and updates this. So there are many aspects there, and I wanted to introduce this to you because maybe some of you is interested to work with us on that, has some interest or has a related project. I think it has, from my perspective, still great potential to have such a Semantic MediaWiki for conferences, and maybe later it could be also expanded to other areas, not just conference, but conference maybe would be a good starting point. Make this available also as an open resource and openly available as open data to everyone. Yeah, so that's a bit what I wanted to show you. And it also, of course, aligns quite well with the research we do here in Hanover and the other services we do. We work on, for example, the Open Research Node Graph, which you have heard about with Saha Bardati already and Maria Ister, or this AI assistant. And often they follow this paradigm of this neurosymbolic, so integrating a knowledge graph, symbolic knowledge representation with neural models. And that is something which would be nice if we could at some point implement it here as well. So far, and maybe some of you have an idea, so far I was not successful in the last 15 years to make this really a lively, working, active community. Yeah, so thanks a lot for your attention, and once again, welcome to Hanover. Great that you are all here. And I think we also have time for some questions.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Sören. Great. So, questions from the audience? Yep.
So I apologize in advance for a question that's maybe more of a suggestion / feature request. But I'm wondering if one of the things that you are tracking is sort of accessibility of conferences. In particular, one topic that I see brought up a lot is the availability of childcare at conferences, because lack of childcare is a major barrier for a lot of people to attend conferences who have kids that they can't leave at home. Can't afford babysitting, etc. When I was looking at your fields, I wasn't seeing things about is it wheelchair accessible? Is the entire venue like connected to the hotel? Is there childcare? Stuff like that. Is that like, so this seems to be right now a lot about like academic integrity. Is there a plan to do sort of like, I guess I would say social integrity that way?
There is no plan. And that's exactly my problem a little bit. Like, we had this project Confident, and some of here from the audience were also involved in that. I was hoping a little bit Confident could make this successful, but I have the impression the Confident project went a little bit in a different direction and also developed something nice. But so there is no plan, but it's definitely possible. Yeah. So you can just edit here the templates and the forms also, and add exactly this information. I fully agree. This would be nice to have information. I think childcare is something which probably could be also integrated here in this event description, and maybe in the form you could integrate something. Childcare available, yes, no, or something like this, and then a more detailed description what exactly is available down in the unstructured text field. Yeah, I think these are all good ideas. It just, unfortunately, I don't have the time to do it, or not. Yeah, we have to see how can it be done, and who can do it. That's a little bit what we. And then I thought this could also be something like a community initiative, yeah. But as I said, unfortunately, so far I was not really successful building the community. So it's not a story here about success. Usually I tell everybody how great everything is, what we developed. Here's an example of something which I think is really good and really required, and I still would love to have it. I just maybe I need to force the people in TIB more. Actually, in the pandemic, we had a group of curators who were working and integrating a lot. So we actually have a lot of data already in there. Just it needs now to be more continued and updated.
Awesome. Dr. Auer, it's a pleasure to have you here and an honor to be in your presence. So thank you so much for being here. Now you mentioned that we can add our conference here. You also mentioned that there are predatory conferences and junk conferences. So if I were to create a page, or if someone here were to create a page for a conference, what would the grade be for it? Would it be a predatory conference? Would it be? No, what would you want us to do?
Actually, predatory conference should not be in there. What's funny about it?
Because this conference is not in there. I guess. No. Sorry, was that the joke? I don't know.
I think they interpreted what you said as a joke, as this is predatory, but no.
What grade would you give it?
Which? I would say this conference is maybe not an academic conference in the sense, or that here it's about really novel scientific insights being presented. This is more a conference about sharing knowledge, insights, practical insights, and so on. So that's why I think a predatory conference is a conference which aim is to make money out of fake science, yeah. And I think that's definitely doesn't apply to this one, yeah, because the presentations, the talks here are real. It's about important things, yeah. But I wouldn't say that this conference is an academic conference, yeah. It could be included in open research, but maybe under a specific category of I don't know how that's also something up for discussion, and then practitioner conference, for example, or something like this. Yeah, we also actually have workshops, for example, academic workshops, and also there it's not so much about the quality or something, about the selectivity. A workshop is more for discussing things, and they're very reputable workshops where scientists meet and present stuff and discuss things. But yeah, they are not predatory in the sense that fake science is presented there or money is made out of faking something. Yeah. But this is a very important aspect, and we had to fight with that because, of course, these predatory conference publishers, I have here at the Semantic MediaWiki, it's not open, so you have to create an account. And when you want to create an account, I actually have a field biography added. So people should add their biography. And when people don't add anything or write marketing or something, then I already know I should better not create an account for them.
Thanks, Sören. There's like 2 more questions, and then I think we'll wrap up.
So you've said throughout this talk a few times that you've had trouble attracting people to contribute this and sort of carry the torch. Do you have a sense of whether that is due to a lack of readership and demand for the sort of end product of open research, or do you think there were people that are reading it and they just don't have time to do the contribution, or do you think it's like a chicken and egg sort of problem? Do you have any sense of...
I would say it's a bit chicken and egg. Once there is a lot in there, then I think everybody wants to be in there. That's how it usually is, right? And I would say it's a chicken and egg problem. And Wikipedia had the same problem the first 2-3 years. Wikipedia was almost dead and there was nothing there, right? At some point, then it crossed this critical mass of good articles, and then it became really such an important resource, right? And I think here it's the same. I'm a little bit surprised that I didn't find enough. I was actually hoping when I started the development that I would find enough people to join and to team up, or even to spend. I'm also a bit depressed about my own PhD students because I think I advertised it a lot to them, because for me it was also very helpful to work with Semantic MediaWiki. I learned a lot how the semantic technology can be used, how you can write queries, and how things are done, right? So I was actually advertising this also a lot to our PhD students and asked them to join and to contribute something. And I have the impression, I don't know why.
Effort to contribute, right? There's not, at least within like the local community, there's on the order of like maybe dozens of conferences, but not like hundreds of thousands that would be relevant at any given time. Is that?
I wouldn't say it's a huge amount, like it's filling out this form, right? Looking for the website. And now you can even do it with ChatGPT. And I think we can probably even write a script who does that, goes to ChatGPT. I just had a problem in Semantic MediaWiki because you need these kind of negative queries. That was something which I couldn't do quickly. Exactly. So we need to find conference series where there is no venue defined for the next year. So this was a little bit the problem I was struggling with. It can be done with some kind of templates and or 2 types of templates which refer to each other and so on. But that's in the end where I got stuck.
I think, sorry, we have to speak with this, and we really need to close though, because we have a lot of other talks afterwards.
I know of people who might be interested in contributing, but they are in humanities conferences. Are you also interested in that, or scientific conferences
Sure.
only?
Yeah, humanities is also fine.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone, and let's keep up the discussion later.